Yes, Julie.
I had a follow-up to the financing. Had you compared your cost per vote ratio with your opponents, and how did that compare with your opponent? Basically, did the Libertarian message give you more of a cost value than what your opponents were giving?
Okay, the question was, what was the cost per vote for your campaign versus your opponent, and did your message make a difference in that?
To be honest, I don't have that information. I did not even track how much my opponent spent. We were pretty much just concentrating on issues at the time, and you know, not necessarily proud of this, but fundraising was just a secondary consideration.
I didn't track my opponent. My cost for a vote has been generally under $1 because I do live in a, because I'm running for a local office. Yeah, and messaging was, 100% of framing the right message so that people understand why what I believe is going to directly benefit them. But as far as what my opponent did, I just can't tell you.
When I ran for county collector, it was like David versus Goliath. My opponent was a two-term presiding county commissioner and a three-term limited state senator. I spent $2,800. He spent $15,000 or $20,000, but it was all on advertising. He just overwhelmed me. In the council race, I actually overspent my opponent. I spent $2,300, and the incumbent spent $18 something.
Okay, I'll take a question. Is there anybody on this side of the room? Yes, Bill.
I know that as far as the media goes, that Doug was often, even though it's a nonpartisan race, he was always identified as the Libertarian, Doug Burlison. Any comments upon whether that was being identified previously as a Libertarian versus a Democrat or Republican? Any thoughts if that's a good thing or a bad thing? Because they do not mention in nonpartisan races that so-and-so is the Republican running for this seat or the Democrat running for this seat. But Doug was identified as the Libertarian, in other words, in the media, wacko, running for this seat.
Okay, did everybody hear that question?
Is Doug a wacko? Is that what he is?
Yeah, that's the summary that I was going to give. Why isn't party association presented for Democrats, Republicans who run for nonpartisan office? Yet sometimes party affiliation is listed when it's a Libertarian, and is that another term for wacko? So let's see, how did the known fact that you were Libertarian affect your race, Doug?
Well, as far as the wacko charge, guilty as charged. I apologize. I think that actually worked in our favor. We were against well, over the course of the campaign, he became an unpopular incumbent. And the media, I would not use the word Libertarian in describing my campaign because it was a nonpartisan race. That term was thrown at me over and over, did not deny it, proud of it, but it was in an attempt to discredit the campaign, and well, it backfired. And I wonder if, it was a result of the numerous references, and perhaps at a certain point in time the voters could kind of see through the strategy there, but it ended up working for me, much to the chagrin of the Springfield news leader and the television stations.
It didn't come up in either of my campaigns at all. I mean, it's not, any sort of secret. My activism is about as loud and proud as you can get. I mean, with apologies to Keith, if he's still here, I'm, the Libertarian. There you are. Yeah, I'm the Libertarian guy in Grandview. Just trying to emulate Keith, of course. But I was, between the bar campaign and giving speeches on C-SPAN at the last couple of national conventions and running for office in '04. I mean, it's, if I were, ashamed of it, I would have changed, my label a long time ago, and it's not going to hurt you in a local race if what you focus on is, the issue at hand. If you focus on the issues that affect your neighbors and your friends, and you simply point out the solutions that are going to be better, and it doesn't matter to voters in a nonpartisan race whether those solutions are Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. I'm very glad we don't have a partisan board of aldermen in Grandview. I really think that the makeup would be a little bit different, and I like the board that we've got now. We work together very well because we all bring something a little bit different to the table, intellectually and philosophically and experience-wise, and as far as our approach to problems. It just never came up, and if it did, I don't think it would have hurt me at all. I think people vote for candidates in a local race. They vote for people. They're more likely to put aside that label at that local level.
You kind of hit on a topic that's kind of funny, really, because I've never hidden my Libertarian affiliation, but every time the daily newspaper, the Centralist News Press, refers to me, I'm Libertarian Mike Bozarth, but it's not Republican so-and-so or Democrat so-and-so, and it doesn't happen with any of the other council members. And I even asked a reporter, I said, why do you always mention my politics and not the others? I'm not ashamed of it, but why don't you mention Democrat mayor or Republican council member so-and-so? Well, I don't know their politics. You're the only one that I know what you belong to. That was a good answer, I guess. He didn't mean it in a bad sort of way. It's just, that was his way of describing me. And it still happens. Just either last week or the week before, it was Libertarian Mike Bozarth on the front page. It still happens, and I just learned to roll with the punches. I don't worry about it. I'm proud of it.
Well, I think both Doug and Mike here demonstrate that the brand of Libertarian isn't necessarily a negative thing, especially at the local level. And I think it's good that it's Libertarian Mike Bozarth in the paper, because the more people say Libertarian in an elected official, the more likely they are to think, well, that's a natural occurrence to happen. I'd just like to mention for Doug's benefit that the news leader did endorse a known Libertarian for city council this year. So anyway, it is 3:30 now, and we've had about an hour here with our 3 elected Libertarian officials. So I think we need to wrap this up, so we can come back here in about 10 minutes and start the state committee meeting. So I'd like to please thank our elected officials here for their participation here, and once more congratulate them, thank them for running, being elected, and serving. And Mike just asked me to please mention the other elected Libertarians. We have Joel Stoner, who is elected mayor of Max Creek. We have Bob Stevens, who was just elected to the Springfield City Council to join Doug. And we have Carl Timmerman in Holden, Missouri, I believe. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 6. Did I miss somebody?
No. 3 more. You named 3 more.
Just mentioned 3.
Yep, okay.
That's right. Yeah.
That's all 6, and we have quite a few people serving on boards and commissions. So once again, thank you, and I'll close out before we go on a break, since people were mentioning the words of Greene County's own Keith Rogers. Have a government-approved day.